Good morning, coastal Los Angeles. Steve Morici here, and I have the honor of sitting with my brother Greg Russell, who leads our Greater Long Beach campus with his wife Dawn and their two children. This is a little bit of a sobering time, and we wanted to take this opportunity, or I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to Greg and kind of get some of his insight on what he's feeling in light of the current times that we're dealing with right now with Ahmaud, Arbery, and George Floyd, and just the injustice that we've seen take place over the last couple of weeks here. But ultimately, I'm here to get a better understanding personally when it comes to, on a heart level, really striving to understand what this situation, what kind of an impact it's had on you and your family.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I'd just like to start out with, in a time like this, when we look at everything that's taking place, how can I be there as a support and encouragement to you? What would that look like?
Absolutely. Well, first, before I start, I just want to say thank you, Steve, for just even putting this together and reaching out. And I think that really means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family. It means a lot to, I'm pretty sure, just a lot of other African American, Black brothers and sisters that we're actually doing this. So I do appreciate that. The things that I feel like you can do, I posted on Facebook a message just to people that are in my groups and whatnot about how I felt and what was kind of going on in my mind and my heart. And the one thing that I can say really helped me was people reaching out and sharing how they felt for me, and helping me see that I'm not alone, helping me see that they're together with me. And they feel with me, even though that they don't fully understand what's going on. So I think that those are some things that really have helped me in this time.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Rick. What is helpful, and again, in this kind of a situation, what are some things that would be helpful to say from a guy like me to you in light of, again, this current situation that we're in?
Yeah, I think just being genuine, really being empathetic, understanding that my story in particular is not one to be politicized, but it's one that I want to share because I feel like I need to be heard, that things have happened to me, things that have gone on in my life that have really hurt me, and I think you sharing and understanding that and not rushing through the process to get to a political point is what really helps. It really goes a long way. Things that you may not want to say or things that you may not want to ask are things that lead to more of a political mindset, which is things of the nature like, why exactly are those people rioting, or why exactly are those things happening, or you need to wait until all the evidence comes out, or things of that nature. I think doesn't really help me sympathize and understand, or help me feel the sympathy or help me feel the empathy with the story that I have to share.
So more of identifying with you individually than trying to walk through the specifics of the storyline as it plays out.
Absolutely.
Just more individual concern.
Yeah, because we're not, as a Black man, I'm not the walking epitome of every Black person on the planet. Every Black person, although may have had similar discriminations, we're all different. And so we've all felt differently. We've all have gone through things differently. And so hearing my story or listening to us separately and empathizing and meeting us where we are in those moments, I think really helps meet us where we are.
Okay, thank you. Looking through and realizing that within our fellowship, we have a lot of people that fall in the realm of first responders, frontliners. We have police officers that are in the fellowship. How would you address them? What would you say to those officers that are part of the fellowship?
I would first say just thank you. Thank you for your service. Thanks for everything that you do. The narrative that every police officer is a bad police officer or a bad actor or a part of this grander scheme that's a part of the racism that goes on, I think it's uncalled for. It's not correct. I know many police officers that I know and love. Dave Cortez in Long Beach is one of them. There are different men and women that I know that have personally just left an incredible mark on my life. So I would say that they're incredible. I think that the narrative that they are all one is wrong, just like every black person is all one is wrong. So I think that we have to be fair in our judgment when we're talking to people that walk the walk and that serve in the community in that way, and be disciples when we interact with them and love them. So I appreciate all that you guys do, all the first responders, all the police officers in the fellowship. I think you guys are amazing, and we want to make sure that you guys keep on what you're doing as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Greg. As a campus minister, obviously youth is a huge component as to what you're and who you're involved with on a daily basis. I'm sure they have concerns in light of what's taking place today. As their minister, as an adult that's in their lives, how would you address their concerns?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's hard because I haven't landed. I'm sitting in a place that I don't really know how to fully address their emotions or how to help them navigate where they're at, as I am also going through it. So I do feel like, as a campus minister, that can be startling because I'm supposed to have all the answers, I guess, right? But no,
You mean you don't?
But yeah, that's kind of where it is. It's hard to address it as of right now. It's still it's fresh. Every time it happens, it's refreshed. And to help them navigate it, I think we need to come together and figure out how to help and be unified. I do think that it's important to understand that the youth are watching, that how we respond, those who are adults, those who are older, those who are out of their 20s into their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, how we respond to these tragedies and to these things that happen, they're watching. And their response is either going to mimic or they're going to diverge from the way that we respond. So I do want to say that we need to watch how we respond more than trying to navigate them through how they should be responding.
Okay. So an emotional response or political response can draw forth the same thing.
Yeah.
I think so. As Christians, the thing that's really significant is really taking a look at how our brothers and sisters in the first century conducted themselves and just being like Jesus.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If we model that, we're going to have an impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very right.
Obviously, it's all over social media. It's on the TV, our news channels. When it comes to the news and these images that you've seen, how those impacted you personally?
So, I think the most impactful video or image that I saw was the George Floyd video. And I told myself I wasn't going to watch it outright. I was like, I'm not going to watch it because, another black guy being slain or something happening. Every time I see a video like that, I can't help but see myself. And so for my own peace, I think it was just something I didn't want to do. I ended up watching it. Someone asked me, hey, can you should watch this. So I watched it, and it was disturbing. And I'm not saying disturbing in the sense of I'm looking at it and that's just disturbing, that's disgusting. It actually disturbed my peace. It's disturbed my center, my core. And I feel like what was, helpful during that time was that I took a step away from the social media to go and get my peace back from God. Because it's easy to go down that rabbit hole of wanting to, continue to try to figure out how deep and how bad these things are. So.
And hearing you share it, I definitely I feel bad that that's the extent of the impact that it's had. I know it wasn't something easy to watch, but obviously I don't have what you've grown up with, your background, situations that I would imagine on a daily basis sometimes are confronted with, and just sorry that was the outcome for this for you personally.
Appreciate that.
Any misconceptions or perspectives out there that you could potentially help us clear up?
Yeah, I think there's a few. One of them being protesting versus rioting. I think people should be able to go ahead and protest if that's what they feel like they need to do. But I do think that rioting is uncalled for. Although it is how the unheard feel heard in many ways, I think that it's not right. I don't think that any of us would condone it. But I think protesting is something that people should feel okay with doing if that's what they feel like they need to do. Another misconception is that all black people feel exactly the same. We don't feel exactly the same. You know, I was in a program with master's program with many of the black guys, or a few of the black guys actually, and we talked about that idea that we don't all feel the same about the issues in America. So I think everybody's story is different, and even how they approach what's going on in America is different. Although there are louder voices out there, I think that's mainly where we are. Is many of us, I think all of us, just no matter who you are, we want to be empathized with and feel compassion about what's going on in our lives and what we're feeling. So those are definitely a few things, a few misconceptions. And yeah, I mean, if there's anybody that wants to hear more of them, you can reach out to me. But yeah, that's kind of the things.
Okay. So what I'm hearing with that is even these other guys that were in the master's program with you, we've got to give ourselves room for different perspective, different opinions.
Yeah.
Even though the injustice or the situations that we're dealing with are one way, look one way, there's just got to be that room for everybody being a little different and having a little bit different perspective, and our family of origins are different, so that can have an influence on how we respond as well.
Yeah, I think the really most important thing for us is to understand that this is a spiritual issue, that this is not just a political issue, this is not just a humanitarian issue, it's deeply spiritual. If we look at it and we understand what's happening, is it's not just this entire corrupt system out to get us, although there might be something like that in place. What's even more in place is that whenever you give men absolute power can absolutely corrupt. We've heard that over and over again. And it doesn't matter if you're a police officer, there's ministers, there's politicians, there's every walk of life where someone has been given absolute power over someone else. We see bad actors. We see people who act out, and it does not speak for all of them. And so I think that's mainly what we have to, as a church, or even as in the ministry, as being a part of the same family, we have to understand that we can't brand people. Our white brothers and sisters can't brand the black brothers and sisters, and vice versa. I think we have to hear each other where we are, understanding the origin story, and really meeting each other where we are in those moments, because none of us are the same. But God, Jesus himself, who would not have had been able to absolutely relate to the loss of a brother or the loss of a mother, was able to empathize and sympathize with those people in the moment, right? John 11, we see Jesus, he is sitting there empathizing with the sisters, right? So I think we have to really mimic Jesus in this way and learn how to be unified and how to have one voice. Even though we may have a difference of opinion, we have to love each other where we are.
Amen. Well, I want to take this opportunity to just really thank Greg for taking time out of his schedule here today to get together with us and just really help us connect on a heart level. And hopefully with talks like this, there's many of you that will feel the ability to be able to sit down with brothers and sisters and talk about issues that may not be comfortable, but ultimately those things lead us to a much greater degree of connection and ultimately unify us when we have the ability to empathize with one another, to have that degree of connection. And I think ultimately it ties into the love that we see Jesus talking to John about in 1 John, just the degree of that and the depth of that agape love as we really connect with one another. So Greg, again, love to just thank you for taking this time with us today. And would you be able to close out with a word of prayer?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it.
Father, I thank you so much just for the tools that you have given us to fight for unity, to fight for peace, to fight for justice, to see injustice, to have compassion. Lord, you have stocked us with so many ways for us to continue fighting for what is right. And God, I do pray for just our fellowship. I pray that you can continue to heal us, that you can provide a greater sense of peace for those of us who have just really feel tired, that feel the unrest. God, I pray that you comfort us, that you can really bring peace to all of us, and you can help us really be unified. We love you so much, God. I really do pray for our nation. I pray for America. I pray that, the wounds are so deep, but we know that the power of Jesus can overcome. We know that it is Christ that can overcome. Lord, I pray that we can be more like your Son, that we can align ourselves with who he is and how he has conducted himself, and that we can find solace in knowing that we belong to him.
Amen.
We love you. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks again, Greg.
Thanks, guys. Great job. Wow.